Hi team, Katie here from Equestrian Movement, and today I want to share with you 3 of my favorite exercises for conditioning the horses on the ground without necessarily having to tack up and have a ride. So the first exercise that I like to use on the ground is getting the horses to do a rein back over the pole. This is one of my favorite exercises given to us by our chiropractor because it really gets them paying attention to picking up and lifting and extending their hind legs. And in my opinion, I think it is really good for their lower back with stretching and strengthening the area of their lower back. All of the horses that we have doing this exercise really start doing their squats really well. And it's a good way of taking direction from us. If you're doing it for the first time, you want to put this pole out in more of a box shape because the horses get very confused about why you would be asking them to step backwards over when there's an obstacle behind them. And so they'll swing their hindquarters around instead at first. But once they get comfortable with picking their leg up and extending it over, it's pretty easy, and you just want to take each step very slow and let them feel their way around it. The next exercise that I like to do on the ground with the horses, but also with my riders, is our in-hand work. This is a game changer for my students. It's been a very long time since I was a green rider, so I have very vague memories of it. But when I do this work with my newer riders, my beginner, intermediate and green riders, they really have some breakthrough moments here, because when we're in the saddle there's so many things that we have to be thinking about with regard to our balance and our body and our cueing and our communication and all of those different things, that it does take away from our concentration and our focus into cueing through acceptance of contact, developing hands that our horses have trust and confidence in, encouraging them to seek our hands to take direction from us. And also because we're on the ground, we're not as in such a vulnerable place as we are in the saddle, so we can be a little bit more trusting with our contact sometimes than we can end up being in the saddle if we're nervous or wary of the horse and trying to control them through bit pressure. This allows for, finding that place of team where we have more acceptance through the contact, because the contact is gentler because we're not trying to control the horses. The other fun bit about this is when you do it for the first time, you're going to bump off of each other a heap. And so it's in that bumping off of each other that you kind of find a place where you come into sync in stride and synchronize in stride together. And I think that that's a really good one for developing body awareness for your horse, for you, but also you for your horse. A lot of even adult riders that struggle to stay focused on their horse for the period of time that they want their horse to stay focused on them. So this is a fun exercise with regard to developing that level of focused awareness and attention on our horse's movement and being in sync with them. And lastly, this is a bit of a 2-for-1 freebie. One of the other ones that I like to do is spiraling in and out on the lunge, and then the canopoles with a slight raised one in the middle. Once your horses are comfortable with the canopoles, that is, you might even just start out with transitions over a single pole into canter and then put it out to canter poles on the lunge. But this is really good for developing our working paces and our length of stride. Spiraling the circle in and out, you can see where Hunter there is releasing some tension through his top line. Spiraling the circles in and out really, the exercise creates a shortening of the stride, and then when we spiral the circle back out, it encourages ground coverage and lengthening of the stride again. And then you can see when we add the canter poles to it and the little jump to it in the middle, it really encourages our horse to find their length of stride and find their working canter, so that they're going to balance to organize their legs to get through those canter strides. And that's why I like to do this on the lunge, is because to begin with, our horses don't have their eye in for how to shorten their stride up to get into the poles properly there. And so I don't want to be in their road and putting them off balance when they're trying to find their balance. I want to do this on the lunge first, help them get their eye in, and help them get their balance in, so that when it comes time to riding them in the saddle and we start to do maybe some canter poles under saddle with maybe a little grid work, they already have their legs and their body organized, their balance organized, and can see their points that they're going to jump from. And then they can focus purely on balancing us in the saddle and not have to worry about where their legs go. So that's it. 3 of my favorite and super easy exercises that you can do on the ground that is going to improve your horse's conditioning and balance for when you hop in the saddle. Until next time, happy trails.